And then I was in San Francisco at the California show, and I was like, wow. I mean, I don't know. They had a great collection of his games, one right next to each other. They were all perfect. They were all like really nicely illuminated, and I started playing them, and I was like, I went from one to the next, and I was like, wow, look at these things. I mean, it's like just he does really imaginative things with the ball, and so it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to do something. It's when I play Steve's games, I know what to expect.
Right.
I grew up. I didn't grow up, but I sort of learned how to design from those games. I studied them a lot. His thought process and mind are not very parallel. So, he's not. I don't. He's driven by the kinetics. He's not driven by the toys. I'm driven by the toys, but the kinetics are really important to me.
Oh, okay. Do you think by playing some of those games you'll kind of take a little influence on it? Maybe taking, because his games are a different journey than Steve Ritchie games. They're different kind of journey with the ball. Well, yeah, the ramps.
Yeah.
And,
John is seriously open areas in the playfield scare the hell out of me. And John is fearless. And so, I think, I don't know if you guys will understand what I mean, but it's just, that sort of random architecture, very, very different.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. The closest I've gotten to what I call randomly open architecture is Lord of the Rings, and I was frightened of it every minute as I did it, and yet it turns out people love that game. So
what were you frightened of? Like, what was the end result of the game, or?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What were you frightened of? What were you concerned about?
I was really frightened of that playfield. I was really, really frightened of that playfield. I just didn't. It was so radically different from all the stuff I designed before that for me to do, that I just didn't know how people were gonna like it, or if anyone was gonna if I was going to get a lot of grief for some of the things I tried, and I guess every once in a while I think it really works to kind of shake out the cobwebs to operate in radically different mode.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of all the Stern games that came out in the past 10 years, from what I see and what I research, Lord of the Rings is the most operated game that I believe of the last decade that was made, from the last decade. So people enjoy the theme, they enjoy the game, of all ages and types of players. So from an operating standpoint, I believe it's a hit, the biggest hit of the past decade.
Yeah, it's definitely been, absolutely. It's kind of, it was, I'll tell you what, it was a game fiction that, I wasn't terribly into. It's a good thing Keith Johnson was, because I really kind of focused on the toys and the playfield, and I left a lot of the rule progression to him, because he was way into the theme, and so it was a really good marriage of between the two of us to get to what we got to. I think the game, it was a subject matter that was rich with content. It was really easy for me to generate all the stuff. like it all just kind of fell out of my head pretty quickly. And so, you know, it's like I remember I struggled with the very first playfield, the very first Whitewood. I struggled a little bit, and then after that, it was kind of like I was kind of, I think because I struggled with the first Whitewood, the very first Whitewood didn't feel a lot different than a lot of my other stuff, and I just kind of like, I started over. I ripped it up and started over. I just like said, okay, screw this. I'm going to try something completely different. And, you know, in doing so, you know, I think I got to a good thing. The game did not change from the second Whitewood until we produced it in terms of the architecture of the game. So, and that's saying a lot.
Wow.
Usually there are big changes from that Whitewood forward, and there were none on that game.
Wow. And I haven't heard of that before. Do you know anybody that's had that experience before, or is that kind of, you know, unheard of?
I'm sure it's happened, but it, you know, it was, I think it was it was kind of a testament to the fact that that it was right. You know, I think that I'm certain that other guys have done that. It's just, but for me, it's rare. There's a bunch of changes from Whitewood number 2 to Whitewood number 3, and in that game there was a lot of, you know, I may have worked a lot on toys and things like that after that point, but I did not alter the architecture of the playfield in any significant way after that.
Okay. If you had a carte blanche to make any theme with, you know, no oversight from management, what do you think you'd make? What would be the game you'd want to make?
You know, what's interesting about that is that I think that it would be less about the theme and more about how I would, you know, what I would put in the game. There's probably a ton of themes that I would do that, you know, that I could have fun with. You know, I think it would be fun to do, you know, some kind of a horror theme. I think it would be fun to do some sort of a spy theme. I would have a lot of fun doing a spy theme. I would really like to do a really cool spy game. Like a
spy hunter?
Well, sort of, yeah, something like that. I mean, not necessarily a driving game, but I mean, I think spies, I think the entire, you know, the entire genre of spies is rich with stuff, and I think I would love that. I think, like a, you know, I mean, like themes that come to mind, you know, like some sort of a, you know, like a heist game, like a, you know, jewel heist, high-end art thief kind of thing. It's kind of like thieves and spies kind of crossed together. I think that would be fun. I think that, you know, I think that a bigger thing would be to, I mean, a bigger excitement. It would be an unlicensed. That would be, have a big budget. That would be a dream. That would kind of be a big dream scenario for me. Like, imagine what I could do if I didn't have a budget. If I didn't, you know, if I just wanted to make something cool.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. And do you have a quick kind of funny or interesting story from a time you were head of designing a game?
I'm sure I have hundreds, but nothing's coming to mind immediately.
Like from Monster Bash, let's say from Monster Bash. Yeah. With Lyman.
Like Monster Bash, yeah. Like, I think, you know, the funniest story about Monster, or not funny, but I think the the Monster Bash story that comes to my mind is the fact that the Monster Bash is one of those games where the stars kind of aligned. We had the right people in the right seats, and everybody was doing great stuff. And so we were playing off each other a lot, and it was the kind of game that I had to keep people out of Lyman's office, every day because people were going there to play because getting work done. But and one of the weirdest things about, or not weird, but one of the most interesting things about that game is that the Phantom Flip feature, Lyman's Phantom Flip feature, was something that required an inordinate amount of R&D for such a sort of a, not ridiculous, but small feature relative to the rest of the game. And, Lyman and I were laughing, we probably put a third of our, certainly a third of his development time went into that one feature, or feels that way. And for me, to support all of the R&D on that was a tremendous amount of work, because we tried numerous sensor position, sensor type, just all kinds of goofy things to get that feature to work. And at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. It's kind of fun, it's kind of interesting, but for, the allocation of time is kind of, not that big a deal.
Right.
When I was working on Lord of the Rings, I've told this story before, that like Keith Keith was really into the game, and I was not that into the fiction. So, I watched stuff, I read the books, and I was like, okay, all right, I know what to do. And I was in his office one day, and I said, dude, I'm going to put that big fire guy right here in the center. And, he lost his mind. He's like, dude, that's the ball wrong. And I was like, I could never get the guy, I could never get the names right. I was like, the guy, whatever his name was, the guy, the horse, he's going to go over here. So, I probably have 1,000 funny stories, but I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on it.
No, that's fine. And you got an early introduction to Transformers back in Japan, from what I've heard from other interviews. So,
yeah.
So if any designer was to design Transformers, you have the longest history with Transformers that I know of. So.
Yeah, well, I sort of, when I first saw him, I must have been about, I must have been in my 20s. I'm 56 now, and so I was in my 20s, and I saw these robots, and I was fascinated with them, and I thought, that's pretty cool. I didn't have that much experience with the fiction, the cartoons, or anything like that, but I was really fortunate that the guys on the team, there's a bunch of 30-some-year-old guys on the team, like Mark Alves and Mike Kizbat and stuff like that, and Wace and Shag, and so those guys really kind of kept us on the straight and narrow. Lonnie and I are old guys, so even though I knew of the toys, and I was familiar with the toys, I was not that familiar with the fiction, and those guys kept us on the straight and narrow, and there's a lot of fun stuff in the game, like the skill shot wipe, and they all of those things, they allude to the TV show, and there's a lot of there's kind of inside stuff that guys that grew up with the TV show are going to like and get from, having seen it, and that we incorporated, not because I knew of it, but because, guys like Mark Galvez and Wason and Mike Kizbat, that they threw in there, so.
Yeah, that was one of the main concerns from what I read online and from other people, that they wanted, they wanted something based on the cartoon, based on the toys, and any reference is going to appease them. And that's a big majority of people that know about Transformers.
Yeah, and then, you know, we tried to get as much of that stuff as we could. You got to remember that we have to work within the framework of what the licensor allows us to do. And so, you know, if the licensor says, we really don't want you to blast these images, you know, the old, like, you know, I would have loved to have added some old images of, you know, the Transformers along with the new images, but those were very adequate that yard. So I think that, you know, those kind of things we would have liked to have done more of, but, you know, we sort of were a little hamstrung by some of those requirements. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Okay. Well, recently I've come across what are old promo tapes, which Bally and Williams used to put out for all their games, and I found one for NBA Fast Break and Revenge from Mars, as well as Monster Bash. And on the 904 Pinball Zine YouTube channel, I made a playlist as well as with the promo for Transformers, and I was really glad to see that they're making promos again, not on VHS or DVD, but, you know, at least online, that there's some kind of promotion, as well as the documentary. The mini documentary has been great as well. So I'm glad that Stern's doing that. So, you know, we can see what's going on. We can see some of the sketches of and how things progress, because a lot of times we just we don't know what went into the game, you know, and so we just play it.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more of that. You know, we had a lot of fun doing it. We're going to be doing a lot more of that.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm about at work, and I gotta say that I forecast that Transformers is going to be the most operated game of this decade. That's my view for this decade. But that's based on what's come out so far. And I mean, maybe one of your games will beat that, but so far, with the game and the theme, I think that's it. I think that's a game that many operators are going to put out, and it's going to have longevity.
Thanks very much.
And
I hope you're right. In some ways, I hope you're right. I hope that but I also, you know, we got some time left in the decade, so I hope we can beat that. But thanks very much. I appreciate it.
I do too. Thank you very much for the interview, and this will be online on the 904 Pinball Zine YouTube channel. I'll keep you posted, and I gave Mr. Gary Stern a copy of the first issue in person at the Southern Pinball Festival, so he knows we exist, and, you know, we're all doing what we can to promote pinball.
Thanks very much, Cody. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Take care.